One of the big mistakes I see people make when they're buying a second property is thinking that the purchase price is all they need to budget for. In reality, the purchase price is only the beginning. Between stamp duty, legal fees, deposits, mortgage costs, maintenance, and taxes, you may need hundreds of thousands of pounds before you even collect your first month's rent. The real cost of buying a second property can shock even experienced investors. So today I'm going to walk you through every major expense you need to budget for before you buy a buy-to-let property in the UK. Hi, I'm Arinzeh, founder of Onyx Property Team here in London. We help buyers, landlords, and overseas investors purchase, let, and manage property across London. And these are conversations I have almost every single week. The good news is that I still believe property is one of the best long-term wealth-building investments available. But today's market is very different from 10 years ago. Successful investors don't buy based on emotion, they buy based on the numbers. So before we dive into all the costs, let's answer the obvious question. Why do people continue buying investment property at all? Despite all the headlines about higher taxes, higher interest rates, and more regulation, people often ask me whether I still believe in property investing. The answer is absolutely yes, but perhaps for different reasons than 10 or 20 years ago. First is leverage. Very few investments allow you to control a $750,000 asset by investing perhaps £200,000 of your own money and borrowing the rest from the bank. If that property increases in value by 10%, you've benefited from the entire appreciation on the asset, not just the part of cash you invested in. Used responsibly, leverage can significantly increase long-term returns. Second is long-term capital appreciation. Nobody can predict where the property prices will do the next year or two, but historically, quality property in desirable neighborhoods have tended to appreciate over long periods. I always encourage clients to think in decades rather than months. Property is rarely a get-rich-quick investment. It's a get-wealthy-slowly investment. Third is rental income. Even if the rental yield isn't spectacular in central London, your tenant is helping you cover your mortgage and ownership costs while you're building equity in the property. Over time, as rents increase and your mortgage balance reduces, that income can become increasingly attractive. Fourth is diversification. Many of my clients already have pensions, ISAs, or investment portfolios overseas. Properties give them another asset class. It isn't really perfectly correlated with the stock market, and for overseas buyers, it can also provide exposure to sterling and one of the world's most stable and established real estate markets. So that's why property continues to play such an important role in many people's wealth building strategy. Actually, when you stop to think about it, most people create wealth through their investments or through real estate, or perhaps as becoming, individual entrepreneurs. And the final comment is property has historically been a good hedge against inflation. As the cost of living rises, rents and property values have tended to increase over time as well. Nothing is guaranteed, but over the long term, property has generally kept pace with inflation. So let's put some real numbers about owning a property in London. Imagine you found a beautiful $750,000 apartment in London that you think would make an excellent investment. Most people immediately think about the deposit. For a buy-to-let mortgage, you're normally going to need around at least 25%, which means you'll need around £187,500 before you've even considered anything else. Then comes stamp duty, and this is where many buyers receive, unfortunately, a nasty surprise. When you're purchasing a second property, you pay the higher rates of stamp duty land tax. If you're also classed as a non-UK resident for tax purposes, there might be an additional surcharge. On that £750,000 purchase, it's entirely possible for your stamp duty bill to be about £87,000. That figure surprises almost every overseas client I work with. They're often prepared for the deposit, but they haven't appreciated how much stamp duty can add to the overall cash required. And remember, that money doesn't improve the property, it doesn't buy you a better kitchen or a nicer view. It's simply part of the cost of acquiring the investment that is paid to the government. Next comes the professional costs. You'll need a solicitor to carry out the conveyancing, local authority searches, and all the legal work. You'll also certainly want a survey. Budget about £2,500 if you're financing the property. So budget about £2,500 for the surveys and anywhere about £2,500 or more for the legal fees. If you're financing the property, there might be mortgage arrangement fees and valuation fees as well, and that could cost up to £1,500. Now, that deposit for a buy-to-let around 25% 8%. Would that put you off from investing? Let me know your comments and share your thoughts in the comment section below. So if you've completed on the purchase, your tenant has now moved in and the rents start coming in, fantastic. But this is where many landlords make a mistake. They see the monthly rent arriving in their bank account and think, great, this is my profit. In reality, there's a number of ongoing costs that you're going to need to come up with before you know what you're actually earning. Let's start with the biggest one, that's your mortgage. While rates have come down from their recent peaks, most buy-to-let mortgages in 2026 are typically in the 4 to 5% range, depending on your deposit, lender circumstances, and the state of the economy. So your financial costs are likely to be one of the largest monthly expenses. Next, think about property management. If you're happy dealing with maintenance issues, chasing rent, and organizing contractors, you may choose to self-manage. However, many landlords, particularly overseas ones, are busy professionals and prefer to appoint a managing agent. Typical management fees are around 8 to 12% of the monthly rent, although comprehensive and end-to-end service can range from 22 to 30%, depending on exactly what's included. Then there's the maintenance, and this is one of the costs I see landlords underestimate the most. A good rule of thumb is to budget around 1% of the property's value every year for repairs and ongoing maintenance. So if it was a £500,000 property, you should expect to spend approximately £5,000 per year on maintenance over the long term. Some years you'll spend little, other years you might have to replace a boiler, contribute to repairing a roof, or redecorate after a tenancy, and suddenly you've spent significantly more. Insurance is another essential cost. While you'll be paying service charges, which will cover your building insurance, landlord insurance generally ranges from about £200 to £500 per year. And if you're responsible for the building insurance, can add another £100 to £300 annually, but could be part of a higher service charge bill. And then we have something every landlord experiences sooner or later, and that's void periods. No property is occupied forever, whether it's between tenants, during refurbishment, or while you're marketing the property. It's sensible to budget for around 1 to 2 months of lost rental income each year. Remember that during that time, your mortgage doesn't stop, service charges don't stop, and neither do many of your other expenses. Now let's talk briefly about taxes, because they have become a significant impact on your overall return. Now, I'm not a tax advisor, so always seek professional advice, but in general, rental income is generally taxed at your marginal income tax rate, which currently ranges from 20 to 45%, depending on your total taxable income. When you eventually sell the property, you may also be liable for capital gains tax, so it's important to factor that into your long-term investment strategy. Some investors also choose to purchase through a limited company. In this case, profits generally are subject to corporate tax, which are currently between 19 and 25%. Although whether that's the right approach depends entirely on your personal circumstances, and you should always seek professional tax advice. So, after all those costs, what sort of returns can investors realistically expect? Well, in central London, gross rental yields are often around 3.5 to 5%, with net yields after expenses typically falling between 2.5 to 4%. If your priority is rental income, you might find stronger yields in parts of outer London. Areas such as Barking, Croydon, Bromley, and Walthamstow can produce gross yields in the range of 5 to 7%, with some individual opportunities exceeding 6%. Although, as always, every property should be analyzed on its own merits. And this highlights an important point. Not every investor has the same objective. Some are looking for a maximum rental yield today. Others are willing to accept a lower yield in exchange for stronger long-term capital appreciation in prime central London locations. Neither approach is inherently right or wrong. It just simply depends on your investment goals. Finally, before buying any investment property in 2026, it's important to understand that the rules for landlords have changed. The Renters' Rights Act represents one of the biggest reforms to private rental sector in decades. It took effect from 1st of May, and it includes the abolition of Section 21, which means landlords can no longer rely on no-fault eviction process to regain possession of their property. It doesn't mean you can't recover your possession, but there are now specific legal grounds that you must adhere to. For me, this simply reinforces something I've always believed, that choosing the right tenant at the outset is one of the most important investment decisions you'll make. If you need additional resources, I've actually created the London Landlord Advisory.com, which is a dedicated website for London landlords and includes everything you need to know about the Renters' Rights Act, compliance, and making sure you don't get fined significantly by not staying in compliance with the new legislation. Now, looking ahead, landlords landlords should also be prepared for the imposed minimum EPC requirements by 2028, which would require investment in energy-efficient improvements, particularly for older properties. And from April 2026, many landlords earning more than $50,000 a year from property will also begin transitioning to making tax digital, introducing quarterly digital reporting requirements. None of these changes mean buy-to-let is no longer a good investment. They simply reinforce that successful landlords need to be informed, organized, and treat property as a business rather than a hobby. One thing I always encourage investors just to focus on is cash flow. A property can look fantastic on paper, but if the rent barely covers the mortgage and service charges, you need to be comfortable funding any shortfall. That's why we analyze each investment from a cash flow perspective and long-term wealth perspective as well. So, is buying a second property still worth it in 2026? I believe it is, but only if you go into it with your eyes wide open. Property has helped create wealth for generations of investors, but today's successful landlords are informed, well-capitalized, and take a long-term view. If you understand the numbers before you buy, you'll make far better investment decisions, and that's exactly why we're here to help. At Onyx Property Team, we don't just help people buy property, we help them understand the numbers before they commit. We also can help them manage the properties, and because buying the right property is only the beginning, owning it successfully is what ultimately creates wealth. If you'd like to know more or book a free consultation, please send me a message or WhatsApp me at +44 770 318 3750, or you can find me on the other social media channels where we post daily. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.